If your kitchen feels crowded, cluttered, or difficult to work in even after you've cleaned it, then this video is for you. Maybe you've told yourself you just need to get more organized, or maybe you've bought containers or baskets or drawer organizers hoping that they'll finally solve the problem. But in my experience, organization usually isn't the issue. Most of the time what's happening is that the amount of stuff in your kitchen doesn't match the space available. So in this video, I'm going to share 7 decluttering rules to help you confidently decide what stays and what goes in your kitchen. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Sheila and I help people declutter, downsize, and move with less stress and more peace. Every kitchen is different, so these rules are not set in stone. Take what works for you and leave the rest. Now let's get into the 7 rules. Rule number 1 is the organizing can wait rule. Now this one might surprise you because after all, you clicked on this video to get your kitchen in order, right? And here I am telling you that organizing can wait, but that's because organizing and decluttering are not the same thing. So many times people tell me, hey Sheila, I'm ready to declutter, and then they show me all the cute bins and baskets and containers that they've bought. My friend, I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, that is not decluttering, that's organizing. And organizing and decluttering ask completely different questions. So when you're organizing, you're asking things like, where should I put this? What's the best container to use? But decluttering asks a different question. Am I even keeping this? That's it. Before you decide where something goes, you first have to decide whether it belongs in your kitchen at all. So today we're not organizing drawers or rearranging cabinets, and we're not worrying about the best place to store your mixing bowls or whether your utensils should go in this drawer or that one. We're not worrying about bins or baskets either, as much as I love a good bin or a basket. Today is not the day for that. We are simply deciding what stays and what goes. That's all decluttering is. Once you've removed everything that you no longer use or need, organizing becomes much easier because now you're only organizing the things that you've actually decided to keep. So today we are just decluttering, and decluttering is simply deciding what you're keeping and what you're letting go of. That's it. Organizing can wait. Rule number 2 is the hands-off rule. So before you start thinking about what you're going to let go of, take a moment to think about what you are absolutely keeping. Now at this point you might be thinking, well, Sheila, I want to keep everything. It's all my favorite. Don't worry, we're going to get to the part about deciding what to let go of. The hands-off rule simply means identifying the things in your kitchen that you absolutely would never want to part with. These are the things that if somebody touched them, you'd say, hey, keep your hands off that. Get your hands off my kitchen knife. Keep your hands off my favorite skillet or coffee maker. As you work through each cabinet and drawer, the first thing you're going to do is identify your hands-off items and set them to the side. Those are the things that you've already decided you're keeping. So for me, one of them would be my set of measuring cups. They're not much to look at, but I can't imagine cooking, especially baking, without them. So if those measuring cups disappeared tomorrow, I would notice and I would go out and replace them. When you're decluttering any area of your house, but especially the kitchen, it's important to work in very small sections. One drawer, one shelf, or one cabinet at a time. Take everything out of that area, look at the pile, and ask yourself, what are my hands-off items? What are the things in this pile that I can't live without? And set those to the side. That way you don't have to worry about accidentally getting rid of something that you love. Figuring out what definitely stays makes it much easier to evaluate everything else. Now that we've decided that organizing can wait and we've identified some of our hands-off items, it's time to look at everything else. So rule number 3 is the fantasy chef rule. We all have an idea of the kind of cook that we'd like to be. Maybe it's someone who bakes fresh bread or makes homemade pasta or decorates beautiful cakes. And there's nothing wrong with those goals. There's nothing wrong with wanting to learn new skills or try new recipes. But the question to ask ourselves is this: am I keeping this because I actually use it or because I like the idea of using it? Sometimes our kitchens become crowded with tools that support an imaginary way of cooking instead of the way we actually cook. So think about that bread maker or the pasta machine or the cake decorating supplies or any other specialty gadget that's been sitting untouched in your kitchen for years. It's okay to be honest about that stuff. There's no shame in deciding that you're not using it anymore, you don't love it, and maybe it's time to pass it on to someone who will. In fact, this might be one of the most freeing decisions that you ever make, because your kitchen should support the way that you cook today, not the way you expected to cook. You want your kitchen to feel like you, not like someone else's expectation of you. Which brings us to rule number 4, the somebody else's kitchen rule. We all have ideas about what a proper kitchen should have, and those ideas come from somewhere. Maybe it's parents or wedding registries, magazines, cooking shows, social media. Somewhere along the way, we inherited a checklist of what a kitchen is supposed to have in it. And sometimes that causes us to hold on to things that we don't use or love simply because we think that every kitchen is supposed to have one. So the question to ask ourselves here is, am I keeping this because it works for me or because I think every kitchen is supposed to have one? Maybe it's a toaster oven and you never use it, or maybe it's an apron that never leaves the hook, or a gravy boat that you inherited and you don't like it and you never use it. Maybe it's specialty items that you registered for because they seemed like something that every adult kitchen should have. Just because something belongs in someone else's kitchen doesn't mean it belongs in yours. Your kitchen doesn't have to pass inspection. No one is going to come and check to see if you have a gravy boat. Your kitchen doesn't have to look like a model kitchen or your grandma's kitchen or a grown-up kitchen, whatever that is. It just has to work like your kitchen. Rule number 5 is the break the set rule. I posted a reel the other day where I was talking about questions to ask to make decluttering easier, and someone commented and asked me if it was okay to donate the matching mugs that came with her dishes because she had other mugs that she loved more. She almost seemed like she was asking permission. And I told her, I'm a huge fan of breaking up the set if you don't like all the pieces that came with it. Life is too short to keep things you never use just because they match something else. So the question to ask yourself here is, am I keeping this because I actually use it, or just because it was part of a set? So think about the matching mugs that came with your dishes, or those saucers that never get used, or that one piece from your set of pots and pans that you've never used. There's always one piece that we don't use. We treat sets like they're supposed to stay together forever, but your kitchen isn't a museum collection. Every piece has to earn its place. Just because something came as a set doesn't mean it has to stay that way. If you've gotten any value out of this video so far, it would mean the world to me if you would hit that subscribe button so that I can reach more people and help more people. Thank you so much. Let's keep going. We've talked about deciding what stays, and we've talked about letting go of the things that don't belong in your kitchen. Now it's time to resist the urge to immediately fill up every empty space that you've created. So rule number 6 is the embrace the space rule. We're conditioned to think that every empty cabinet, every empty shelf, and every empty stretch of countertop is supposed to be filled. So we buy a bigger house and we fill it, and then we fill the garage and the attic and the storage unit, and somewhere along the way we start believing that empty space is wasted space, but empty space isn't wasted. In fact, it's one of the most useful things that your home can have, especially in the kitchen. People often notice that they have more room to prep food, unload groceries, make lunches, or simply wipe the counters when there's empty space. In other words, the empty space isn't just beautiful, it's useful. I started this with my own kitchen countertops. I took everything off, the toaster, everything. I wiped the counters down and then I just let them rest. I let them breathe. And that's when I realized it's okay to have empty countertops. It's okay to have empty cabinets, and it's okay to have empty shelves. The more you go along in your decluttering journey, you might end up with some empty space. So just because you have room for more stuff doesn't mean you have to fill it up. I challenge you to pick one section of countertop, even if it's just a tiny section. Clear it completely off, wipe it down, and then let it rest for a few days and see how that feels. Or maybe it's one shelf inside a cabinet. Clear it completely, wipe it down, and then challenge yourself not to put anything back there for a week. Just let that space rest, let it breathe. And I think you'll be surprised by what happens. Because once you've lived that way with some open space for a little while, you probably won't want to fill it up again. Because empty space isn't something that's missing. It's what gives you room to actually use your kitchen. You don't have to fill every cabinet just because you have one. And you don't have to fill every shelf just because it's empty. Your kitchen doesn't have to be full to be functional. So we've made a lot of decisions by this point, but we still have to talk about the elephant in the room because it's the number one question that people ask me. And that's why rule number 7 is the replacement rule. So maybe you've thought, well, what if I get rid of it and then I need it next week? Or what if I can't find another one, or I can't afford it if I need to replace it? Those what ifs can keep us hanging on to a lot of things we don't actually use. So here's the question to ask yourself. If I truly needed this again someday, what would I do? Maybe you'd borrow one. Maybe you'd find something else you could use instead. And maybe you'd realize you never needed it after all. Because here's what we often forget. We're so focused on the possible cost of replacing something someday that we forget about the cost of keeping it today. It's taking up space. It's making our kitchen harder to use. It's making it harder to find the things we actually need. And that's a cost too. So here's another way to think about it. Which would you rather have? Would you rather get rid of 1,000 things only to discover there was one thing that you kind of wish you still had? Or would you rather keep 999 items just because you didn't want to let go of the one that you might have to replace someday? The truth is, most of the things we worry about replacing, we never end up replacing. So for most of us, keeping hundreds of things we don't use just in case ends up costing us way more than replacing the occasional item ever would. And to be completely honest, I've decluttered thousands of things over the years, and I've never missed any of them. So when in doubt, trust yourself and let it go. And if you're thinking, okay, I think I can actually do this, don't stop now. I've picked another video that will help you keep going. I'll meet you there.